Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really zeroing in on a set of sources you shared about this basketball program, the Renegade Rebounder.
That's right, yeah. It's run by Play Practice Basketball up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And it's got a very specific focus on, well, rebounding for young players.
Okay, so our mission today is what? To kind of unpack what makes it different?
Exactly. Based on the materials, what problem are they really trying to solve? How do they actually teach rebounding? We've got testimonials from parents, Scott McClure, Nikki Curran, Michael Pellman.
Jason Conway, Sumi Soman, Jamie Rule. Quite a few.
Yeah, and the program's own descriptions, too. Covering the problem, their solution, the structure, who it's for, objections, even a guarantee. So plenty to dig into.
All right, let's get into it. The sources seem to argue pretty strongly that the usual way rebounding is coached, it has some issues.
Oh, definitely. They outline a few common problems, like this idea that rebounding is really only for the tall players.
Right. Or if you are tall, it should just happen naturally, like height's the only factor.
Exactly. Like, it's not a skill you learn. And then coaching often just boils down to, show more effort, or you got to want it more.
Which isn't super helpful if you don't know how.
Precisely. Or the other big one is that boxing out is taught as like the one-size-fits-all answer for everything.
Okay. So if you're a kid hearing this box out, try harder. But maybe you're not the biggest? Or you feel a bit lost under the hoop?
Yeah.
What's going on in their head, according to these sources?
Well, what the program description suggests is that this translates internally to things like, I'm just too short, or I'm not strong enough.
Yeah.
Or maybe even, I actually don't know how to do this effectively. So, players who are maybe undersized or less certain, or maybe just not naturally aggressive in that way, they end up feeling kind of lost. They haven't been given like actual techniques.
That makes a lot of sense. It's hitting that wall of will versus skill. So, okay, how does Renegade Rebounder propose to fix this? What's their core idea?
Their whole philosophy seems to shift the focus. It's all about what the player can control, regardless of their size or how strong they are right now.
Okay.
They argue rebounding isn't really about just being big and strong. It's more about strategy, timing, technique. And they break it down into what they call the 3 Ps.
The 3 Ps. All right. What are they?
So first P is predicting. This is about teaching players to read where the ball is likely going to go after a shot.
Okay, so reading the angles, the spin, anticipating.
Exactly. Anticipation, not just reaction. The second P is positioning. Learning how to, strategically use your body to get an advantage to win the race to that spot you predicted.
Right, using leverage and footwork, not just bumping people out of the way.
Yeah, smarter movement. And the third P is pursuing. This means actively, like going after the ball first with intention. Once you've predicted and positioned, you pursue. It's proactive.
Predicting, positioning, pursuing. So the idea is master these.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter as much if you're giving up a few inches.
That's exactly the argument they're making in the sources, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on these skills, knowing where it's going, how to get their best, and then actually going for it, and you'll get more rebounds. It sort of bypasses that traditional need for just height and strength.
Okay, that's definitely a different angle. Do the testimonials back this up? Do parents and players talk about this kind of skill development?
They really seem to. Nikki Curran, for instance, mentioned her child developing skills and a love for the game, connecting it to supportive coaching.
That's always good to hear.
Yeah, and Michael Pellman. He specifically talked about the detailed technical training and how his child grew as a player and as a person. That suggests it's more than just drills.
Interesting. That personal growth piece alongside the skills, does that pop up anywhere else?
Well, the main focus is definitely basketball skills, but you see threads of confidence and understanding coming through. Scott McClure's comments were interesting on the technical side.
What did he say?
He pointed out that the drills aren't just like watered-down kid stuff. They're using the same basic footwork and concepts the coaches run with high school, college, even NBA players, apparently.
Wow, really? For 5th to 9th graders?
Yeah, but he saw it directly help his son, Cole, with footwork and spacing early on. It suggests they're teaching sophisticated concepts, maybe just simplified in the delivery for that age group.
That's quite an endorsement. And what about Jamie Rule's comment? Something about getting more coaching in 30 minutes.
Right. She said, more coaching in 30 minutes than my daughter had in the last 2 years with her team. That really speaks to the intensity and the focus of the instruction.
Yeah, no kidding. That's That's a strong statement.
It is. And Jason Conway mentioned developing all-around skills and keeping it interesting for boys and girls. Even though the program's targeted, Sumi Selman highlighted the patience and customized approach for different skill levels, said her kids actually look forward to going.
That's huge, getting kids excited about practice. And then there's that Ethan Berg testimonial. The sources seem to feature that one quite prominently.
Yeah, Ethan's story really ties it all together, it seems. He talks about rebounding and post moves becoming a big part of his game because of this program.
Great.
And he explicitly says he could translate it to games, out-rebounding every single person on the court, even if they were bigger. Plus scoring, confidence boost. It really reads like a case study for their whole method. The 3 Ps, the technical stuff, leading to results.
Okay, so they've got the problem defined, the 3 Ps philosophy. How is it actually taught? What's the structure like week to week?
So it's structured around 4 weekly modules. You can do it in a group setting or one-on-one.
4 weeks, okay. What do they cover?
The 4 main topics are offensive rebounding first, then defensive rebounding, then advanced rebounding techniques, and finally, creating scoring opportunities from the rebound.
All right, let's break those down a bit. Offensive rebounding, what's involved there?
That module covers like predicting on the offensive end, how to avoid getting boxed out effectively, how to follow your own shot or when not to, things like that.
Already sounds more nuanced than just crash the boards. Okay, defensive rebounding.
Here they talk about what the sources call the evolution of the box out. Their method is called bump and chase.
Bump and chase.
Yeah, some more dynamic, right? Like maybe initial contact to displace, then actively pursuing the ball, not just sealing someone off statically. They also cover rebounding as the on-ball defender or help defender and specifics for zone defense.
Interesting. Specific technique there. And then advanced rebounding.
Yep, that gets into things like tipping the ball to yourself, to a teammate, or even tipping it in, and also a technique called pin and pivot, which sounds like maybe controlling a defender under the basket.
Very specific skills.
Seems like it. And the last module, creating scoring opportunities, connects it all back to offense.
How so?
It covers things like, okay, you got the rebound, now what? Transitioning to the fast break, good outlet passes, getting angles for putbacks on offense, and that decision goes straight back up or kick it out.
Right, the whole sequence. Okay, so they have these modules.
Yeah.
But how do they actually teach it week by week so it sticks? The sources mentioned a PERQ system.
Yes, PERQ. That's their framework for layering the concepts and making sure kids retain it. It uses 4 touch points each week.
Okay, break down PERQ for us.
So P is for prime. Players watch a short, like 15-minute preview video, Sunday or Monday, before the actual session.
Getting the concepts in their head beforehand makes sense.
Right. Then E is for espresso versus gallon. This is the workout itself, 30 minutes for one-on-one, 60 for group, usually on Tuesday. They call it a focused injection of basketball ideas, like an espresso shot, potent and quick.
Okay, concentrate and training. Got it.
Then R is for record. They actually record the workout session. The player is meant to review that recording, maybe Wednesday, to see their progress and guide their practice at home.
Well, that's smart. Visual feedback.
Yeah. And finally, Q is for quiz. On Friday, there's a short quiz. It's about recalling what they did, why they did it, and what the technique is called. Helps lock it in.
Active recall. Yeah, that's proven to work.
Yeah.
So the whole week looks pretty structured. Video session, review recording, practice, quiz. Definitely more involved than just showing up Tuesday night.
For sure. And this whole system, this whole program, it's aimed at a pretty specific group, according to the sources.
Right. Who is the ideal player for this?
They call it a green SOTKS to blue SOKS transition program.
Okay. Decoding that.
Well, based on context, it sounds like green SOKS might be newer players, maybe more focused on just effort, and blue SOKS are players who've developed more specific skills and game IQ. So this program is for kids making that leap.
Gotcha.
Specifically, it's targeted at players in 5th through 9th grade. They need to have at least 2 years of experience already, and crucially, they need to be ready to really focus on improving skills that they can use in games right away.
So, not for beginners, for kids with a foundation who want that next level, specifically in rebounding and related skills.
Exactly. And the sources, they also anticipate some pushback or questions people might have.
Objections. Like what? Maybe? Why only 4 weeks? Seems kind of short to master something.
Yeah, that's one they address. Their answer is that 4 intensely focused weeks on this one critical skill set, using their PERQ system, is effective. They also mention interleaving, mixing different rebounding concepts and game situations together in training.
Which helps with retention and application, right? better than just drilling one thing over and over.
Supposedly, yeah. Another objection is cost. The sources hint it might seem pricey.
And their response?
They frame it around the guaranteed results, that promise of 2 more rebounds per game. They say that's a real measurable return. They emphasize the efficiency, 20 years perfecting the instruction, eliminating wasted time.
Value over just minutes on the court.
Right. And they stress their specialization in that 5th, 9th grade range. They know what works for those kids, how they think. They position themselves as simplifiers of complex stuff.
Okay, so it's about the guaranteed outcome and their niche expertise. What about, isn't this just another skills night? How do they counter that?
They say definitely not. They contrast their approach with, say, programs where skills are just an add-on, or you have huge groups of 20-plus kids, or skills are taught totally separate from gameplay.
And how do they claim to be different?
Well, max 8 players per group, so more attention.
What?
And they use this idea of competitive discovery.
Competitive discovery.
Yeah, it sounds like they put kids in game-like situations, let them encounter problems, and then teach the specific skill as the solution within that competitive context. So you learn the move, but you immediately see why and when to use it against a defender.
Connecting the skill directly to the game situation. That does sound different. And what if you just can't make a session?
They mention offering a one-on-one makeup session as long as you let them know of a start of the program. So, bit of flexibility there.
It's interesting how the answers to these objections keep circling back to the things highlighted in the testimonials.
Yeah.
The technical skill, the game translation, the confidence.
Yeah, it all seems designed to reinforce their core message, which leads to what they say makes them truly unique.
What's the fundamental difference they really emphasize?
The sources say it's about creating renegade rebounders, players who are actively taught and encouraged to just go get the ball.
Go get the ball. That sounds pretty assertive.
It is, and they deliberately contrast that with what they see as the norm, focusing on playing not to lose. Just trying to stop the opponent from getting the rebound, usually with that traditional box out.
Whereas their focus is?
Their focus is proactive. It's about helping your team get more chances to score by aggressively going after the ball yourself.
That's a definite mindset shift. From defensive prevention to almost offensive rebounding, even on the defensive end.
Kind of, yeah. It's about securing possession actively.
Yeah.
And they back this whole philosophy up with that guarantee we mentioned earlier.
Right, the guarantee. Remind us what it was.
They guarantee players will add 2 more rebounds per game than they ever have before after finishing the program, or, the sources say, you get a full refund.
Wow. 2 more rebounds per game, guaranteed.
Yeah.
That's very specific, very measurable.
It is. And they claim the average player actually adds between 2 and 5 rebounds per game. That Ethan Berg testimonial talking about out-rebounding everyone, that's presented as proof it works.
That's a bold promise. Does the sources mention any, fine print on that guarantee? Or is it just do the program, get the results?
From the material provided, it's presented pretty straightforwardly. Complete the program, see the result. The confidence to offer that likely comes from their belief in the method that mastering the 3 Ps via the PERQ system genuinely translates to more rebounds, no matter your starting size. It's a skill-based guarantee.
Okay, so let's recap. We've looked at the sources on the Renegade Rebounder program. We've seen how it flags issues with traditional coaching.
Yep, and offers its own solution. The 3 Ps, predicting, positioning, pursuing.
Taught through that structured 4-week PRQ system.
Right, specifically for that 5th to 9th grade group, making the jump from effort to skilled execution.
And we heard how the testimonials emphasize technical skills, confidence, game impact, out-rebounding bigger players, that kind of thing.
And how they tackle potential concerns by highlighting their specialized approach, the focus on competitive discovery, and that core idea of proactively going to get the ball.
All backed by that very specific 2 rebound per game guarantee.
Exactly.
So hopefully this deep dive gives you, the listener, a really clear picture of what this particular program is about based on the sources, how it aims to make a measurable difference for young players by teaching them specific ways to control the boards.
It does leave you with an interesting thought based on how they frame it. They contrast playing not to lose, just stopping the opponent, with playing to win by actively going to get the ball. It makes you wonder, does that defensive reactive mindset sometimes limit potential compared to a more proactive offensive one? Not just in basketball, maybe, but how you approach other challenges, too. Something to think about.